All right. So, Amigo Brothers, in addition to being awesome, entertaining story and a piece that we can hold up to our own life and ask ourselves, would we act the same way in these circumstances and compare the themes? I also want to have you be able to defend yourself should somebody come at you in a dark alley. Okay, so boxing story. We'll play a little Eye of the Tiger. If you just want to stand up and do a little boxer shuffle, pretend you're going against a speed bag, right? Maybe some jabs. We'll get a little warmed up before we get into some vocabulary. So, make some little air fists there. That would be fantastic. And here we go, a little Rocky. All right, put them up and just. Okay, jabs. Jabs. You can do some seat jabs. Okay, let's try some hooks. All right, uppercuts. Hook, uppercut. Hook, uppercut. Somebody's going to steal your man purse. Don't let them do it. All right, end with some jabs. Okay, do some Rocky jump rope. All right. So, Amigo Brothers, it's going to have a lot of boxing jargon in it. And jargon is cool. You use jargon all the time without even knowing it. Jargon are technical terms related to like a specific field. So hockey players, we hear icing, offsides. We don't use those terms except really in hockey. Musicians, you use things like crescendo and pianissimo and forte. Those are musical terms, right? And so boxing, in this story, you're going to hear things like a technical knockout, like a TKO, when a fight is stopped because one of the fighters is too hurt to continue and their eyes are swelling shut and, they're on the mat like ding, ding, and they're just dead. Okay. Elimination bouts. A bout is a match in which the winners go on to fight in the next match. So one person gets eliminated, the next person advances. So that's going to be a big deal in the story. And our story is based on the Golden Gloves, which is a true boxing match in New York City. And it's kind of where the amateurs get to move on and they get to go into the professional boxing life in that world. The next vocab word is superimposed. So imagine like you're trying to gear up for a fight and you're imagining your opponent's face. Maybe you're watching the Rocky movie, but instead you're superimposing your opponent's face over that, right? Or like you Photoshop your dad's body on your grandma's, your dad's head on your grandma's body. Superimposed, where you put one thing over another. Perpetual, going on the speed gate bag. A flurry, constant, unending motion, perpetual. And dispel means to drive away, right? You felt how strong your muscles were, and it dispelled all your fears going into this piece. So, Amigo Brothers, usually we read it in our literature book, but this year we're going to read it online. I actually like the online version a little bit better. There's a few more graphic details in it, like people's faces getting pummeled and ground up to look like hamburger meat. So we're just going to walk through a couple of the vocabulary words. There's some Spanish words in it too, as well as boxing jargon. But the beginning tells us it's a story about two friends, amigos in Spanish. They live on the Lower East Side, a little bit of a rough area in New York City, but they got big dreams. They want to get to the Golden Gloves, and then they want to go beyond that to have a better life for themselves in the boxing world. So it's a real life tournament. And it kind of separates the amateurs into the pros. So looking at the bottom, a tenement, it's not like a nice apartment building around here that we would identify as an apartment. A tenement is kind of like a rough building, very, very small, cheaply built, poorly maintained, kind of run maybe by like a slumlord, okay? So it's rough, and that's where these kids are coming from. So now you kind of understand why boxing fuels them. We got big dreams for a better life. Continuing down, our next word that we're going to see is panin. So you can say panin. That's like pal. What up, panin? Okay, Puerto Rican slang, Spanish slang for pal or buddy. They describe themselves as chavarote fighters, Puerto Rican slang, Spanish slang for the greatest fighters in their neighborhood. They're representing their neighborhood, and you'll see how this community feels about them. Say hermano. Hermano means brother. Okay, some of you are hermanos, some of you have hermanos. Sabecito is Spanish slang for cool. Sabecito. And then you're asking somebody like, do you get it? Right? Say, sabe? Sabe? Yeah, see, Yeah. So he says, okay, watch yourself too, sabe? You get it? All right. So when you read literature and you see the little numbers at the bottom of the page, that's pretty cool to help guide you along. Those are called little footnotes, and we'll use those a lot this year. So like number 8, salsa. Besides being that delicious red spicy sauce we put on our tortilla chips, salsa like salsa music, right? Usually played at with fast tempos with salsa dancing. So Latin American music. So I mean, they're living in Spanish Harlem in this pocket where there's a lot of Puerto Rican music and culture. So that's kind of cool. And you hear them kind of speak both in Spanish and English as we read. During the fight, I mean, the crowd goes crazy and they're so excited that these boys are representing their neighborhood, their community, and somebody shouts out, Lower East Side, and that means Lower East Side, right? Lower East Side. So that's fun. What else do we have? And mucho corazón. A corazón is your heart. So mucho meaning big heart. These boys put everything into their fight, and they fight with a ton of courage, a ton of heart, and mucho corazón. Okay. Any others? Those are the big ones that we're going to look at. And then amigo, we know his friend. Panin is pale. And we talked about Chavarote, great hermano, brother. Suavecito, take it easy, right? Sabe, understand? And we know that salsa is Latin American music. The announcer will get on and say, Señores y señoras, right? So that's kind of cool. Ladies and gentlemen. So I love that. And then mucho corazón, a lot of heart. At this time, I want to get into our anticipation guide. And so we're going to take 2 statements at a time, and I'm going to have you ponder them. I'm going to have you reflect on them. All of these statements, while a little edgy, I want you to decide if you agree or disagree, and then make a prediction. How will this issue arise in the story? Okay? So let's start with number 1 and 2. I'll give you some processing time, some discussion time in your crew, and then I'll come back on and we'll do the next set. So number 1. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. So that's like a catchy little expression, meaning when somebody's away from you or they're gone from a time, does that arouse stronger feelings for you? Greater feelings of love and affection, right? Your brother goes away to camp for the summer. Your sister moved out to college. You miss her more. Do you forget about, her hogging the bathroom or her loud, annoying singing? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. So in this story, kind of like after 20 years, there is indeed a separation between the 2 friends. Is that going to conjure up more emotion? And number 2, you should sacrifice everything to become the best. Other relationships, maybe your fun, entertainment, eating what you want, should that go on the back burner for your future success, your goals, okay? So all you need to do right here is put agree, disagree, and a reason why, okay? I will pause, and then you may record and then discuss among your crew. So maybe just 1 or 2 minutes, 3 minutes there. All right, thinking about number 1. Last year in March when school ended, because we had to kind of go into a little bit of lockdown quarantine, all these kids in different assignments were telling me, oh my gosh, I'm never going to take school for granted again. I mean, yeah, we had to get up early and homework and teach it, but I miss it. I would do anything to be back at school and back in the classroom. Those are some long days. We had an absence for school, and I think it aroused a lot more emotion and gratitude for school. And I think in that case, absence did make the heart grow fonder. How will it affect these boys? They're going to have a separation, then they see each other in the ring. What's going to go down? Number 2, should you sacrifice everything to become the best? I think great success, it does require sacrifice. But what are some essentials that we would never sacrifice? Maybe would that be relationships with your family? Maybe your health? Right? There's some people, I watched a show about in 2020 about these Japanese businessmen who became these huge billionaires, and they worked themselves actually into a state of stress-induced coma. And when they came out of it, they could not remember their family members' names, only the name of their company. So they did sacrifice their family to become the best and at that elite level. I love when we watch the Olympics and they do background story on great Olympians. And some of these kids, they leave their families to go live with another coach, another trainer to become more elite. Should you do that, right? I had my husband's cousin. He left high school and he went out east to live with another family to be able to play hockey at a school that he believed was more elite in order to get a scholarship. So left friends and family and all of his memories his last years of high school behind. Would you do that? Okay, let's look at 3 and 4. Number 3, is it okay for friends to compete with each other? Cross-country runners, can your friendship handle what life is like as you come into the finish line? Is that okay? And number 4, excelling at something, will that make others dislike you? When you're good, does that make you a target? Okay, so take about 3 minutes to think, discuss, and then we'll come back. Go for it. All right, thinking about number 3, I remember one year we were talking about this in class, and this girl, she said, yeah, in band we had chair tests, and I got number 1 chair in flute. I was first chair. And all these kids in my section, all the other flute players, they were nasty to me. People left nasty notes in my flute case and dirty looks, and some of my friends didn't want to be, they don't want to be friends with me anymore. And she felt that her friendship with all the other kids in band, it couldn't really handle the competition. When I was growing up, and I had a friend from North Muskegon, and I raced cross country and track from Mona Shores, and she raced from North Muskegon. We're friends because we knew each other from church and youth group, and we'd have to see each other at the meets and be like, oh, hey, Jen, what's going on? And she was so serious. She goes, I can't talk to you. I'll just talk to you. I'll have to talk to you on Sunday when I see you at youth group. We're at a race. We can't be friends. I was like, what? That's crazy. Can friendship handle some competition? Number 4, excelling at something will make others dislike you. Will you be a target? I read an awesome autobiography by Rafe Esquith, and he was Teacher of the Year, and he was on like the Today Show, and he was interviewed, and he had all these medals and awards, and got to travel because he was an incredible teacher. But he remembers going out to his car after school one day, and some teachers were very jealous of him in his building. His tires were slashed, and just stupid stuff like nasty anonymous emails and things like that he would get. He was great, and then he was targeted. How will we see that in our story? Can the friendship take the heat in the competition? And let's look at our final 2 controversial issues. People who grew up in a rough area. Does that mean they're not going to have high standards for themselves? And number 6, psyching up or mentally preparing is necessary for a great performance. Yes, you physically prepare, right? You get your body all and your materials and your equipment, but do you also need to mentally prepare? So do you agree or disagree with these statements? I'll catch you in a second. All right, people who grew up in a rough area, does that mean they can't dream big and do great things? Of course not, but it makes me think of like the movie The Blind Side and Michael Oher, how he had nothing, but yet everything he was able to become and to achieve. I think about Maria Reyes in 6th grade. I think maybe you read, I don't know if you got to it last year with the school year being weird, but I escaped a violent gang. And she was they made a movie about her life and the teacher in the story called The Freedom Riders. But she grew up in a really rough, crime-controlled area in California. And she said her parents were in gangs. She had so many cousins, aunts, and uncles, friends killed in gang warfare. She said, if I even live to be 18, I'll either be in jail, I'll be a teen mom, or addicted to drugs. But it was because of a great teacher that she and a lot of other kids, that they saw a better life for themselves. And then she went on to write about that. So she found her way out. And you're going to see in these stories, these kids are surrounded by all kind of what are called street negatives and their dreams. Boxing, it's what fuels them to get out and rise above that. So I would say, yeah, it's harder when you live in a rough area. You don't maybe have a lot of the support that you need. You might not have rides or financial support to get to your practices and the things you want to do. People might not take you seriously. And you might have a lot of influences, people pulling you in other directions. No, man, come do this. And when I was growing up, my youth pastor said, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And if you don't have a lot of positive influence, it's hard. It's hard to break out from that. And if you don't have a lot of great mentors, but it's definitely possible. And that's what these kids are trying to do so hard. Number 6, psyching up or mentally preparing. We prepare our bodies, but preparing our minds for our performances is indeed really important. What are some of the things that you do before you go into a performance or onto that, go to the starting line for track or cross country, or run out into that football field or onto the court for basketball? What do you do? And so these kids, you're going to see both of them. They psych up for the big event in different ways. Maybe you use music. Maybe you just visualize and you think about what your performance will be like. Maybe you read something. LeBron James does a lot of reading before games. What do you do? All right. Very cool. So all of these issues, we're going to get to number 7, our last thing as we close, but all of these issues will surface in our text. And I love this story. I love the story for the action verbs. There's so many great action scenes and a ton of figurative language, similes, metaphors, but it has some definite connections to After 20 Years being about friendship, a separation, and where your loyalty lies. So just take a second to think, what's going to happen in our story? We know it's about 2 friends, boxing. There's going to be a separation. There's going to be sacrifice required to achieve. Friends will be competing together. Will that make things difficult? Will that make them have resentment toward one another? And they come from rough areas. Can they dream big? Can they survive all the street negatives around them? And how do they do that? How do they stay mentally strong? So, with that, I want you to go to your final number 7. Thinking about, like Antonio, like Felix, the two boxers in the story, what is your dream? Dreams are in a sense are a little bit cheap. Oh, I'm going to go to NFL. Oh, I'm going to be an interior designer on HGTV. Anybody can say that, but what are you going to do? What can you start doing today to make that happen? How can you live your life in a better, more elevated way that's going to angle you towards achieving your dreams? Taking a different attitude towards school, studying harder, reading more, finding people who are in the field that you want to get into, shadowing them, talking to them, getting yourself the best preparation you can for that dream that you have. So, what is your dream? And list 2 things you can start to prepare yourself now to achieve it. Okay, so that's our last thing, and I'm going to play a little video, and then you can record your dream and your 2 things. And I can't wait to see you back here tomorrow for Amigo Brothers. All right.
You can write everything down if you want to. Be brave enough to write every one of your goals down. But I'm going to tell you something. Life's going to hit you in your mouth, and you got to do me a huge favor. Your why has to be greater than that knockdown. And I love it. Buster Douglas got knocked out. Nobody ever got knocked out by Mike Tyson and ever got back up. It was almost a 10 count. He was stumbling. They were 4, 3, 2, 1, and ding, 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 saved by the bell. He goes to his corner. The whole world is like, yep, that's it. Once he comes back out, that's it. Mike's going to just hammer him. And exactly that. Mike Tyson came out like, I got him. I got this kid up against the rope. Listen to me. Many of you right now, life's got you up against the rope. You can't give up. You can't give in. Listen to me. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And if life's got you backed up, I need you to do what Buster Douglas did. Buster Douglas started fighting back. The world was shocked. Goliath has been knocked down. What happened? And they went to Buster Douglas and they asked Buster Douglas simply like, what happened? And Buster Douglas said, listen to me. It's real simple. Before my mother died, she told the whole world that I was going to beat Mike Tyson. And 2 days before the fight, my mother died. Buster Douglas had a decision to make. When his mother died, he could die with his mother, or he made a decision, I can wake up and I can live for mom. And he knocked Mike Tyson out simply because his why was greater than that punch. His why was greater than defeat. His why was greater than his trial and his tribulation. And I'm telling you, if you don't know what your why is and your why isn't strong, you're going to get knocked out every single day.
All right. So what's your why, and what are you going to do about it? We'll see you tomorrow.